All right, so as like the second installment of my podcast series, which I might rename, might turn it to coffee shop or something. Um, I'm bringing on a guest. I'm probably gonna make this a constant, but today's guest is an icon in the community. He changed everything. I'm talking about the big dog, Chuck. If you want to say what's up.
Yeah, what is poppin', fellas? Thanks for having me on here, bro. We're gonna talk a lot of, you know, stuff that goes on around the communities, and the whole versus community death battle stuff. So yeah, man. Hope all of you are having a good one though.
Yeah. So, um, first of all, I think one thing me and Chuck have in common is like as our channels have gone on, we got more leaning towards neutral content. When I say neutral, just like we used to do a lot more debunks, debating, stuff like that. We got away from that. It's a lot of negative shit, but the funny thing is, like, kind of to start the podcast, is people always ask me whenever I have Chuck, is like, yo, have y'all debated? The answer is yes. So we've had like a quote official debate, but we also, our origin debate is funny because Chuck doesn't really remember it, mostly because it wasn't a big deal to him at the time. So it would be like weird if he remembered it. Like, I don't remember a lot of the people I encounter in
It wasn't
terms of
even it was a
YouTube.
deal. It was like a long time ago.
Yeah, this was probably 3 plus years. This was a long ass time ago.
Yeah,
So
3 years probably.
yeah, so I made a video on Chuck, and I it came from, at that time I'd call it being a request whore, where I was a super small channel. So basically any request I got, I'd either consider or just straight up do. And that's how my content was flowing. So at the time, I got a lot of requests on both Discord and YouTube to debunk Odin versus Beerus, which me and Chuck both have changed our stances on over the years, in turn on like multiple levels in terms of the scaling of the matchup, in the verdict,
Yeah.
all that stuff. But I did the debunk, and it wasn't hostile nearly as big as like I used to come at Screw Attack, but Chuck was basically told, "Yo, this dude made a video talking shit about you." Like, that was his context. So he pulls up, and it's just funny because, oh man, look at how like cool me and Chuck are now. It could have gone south quick. So like he pulls up on me. He's like, "Yo, I heard you were talking shit. Like, what's up?" And I'm like, "If it's the video reference, bro, I said in the video it wasn't no beef. Like, we're good." And he was like, "Nah, bitch, you were talking shit." And like, for people that don't know, in this time frame,
Oh my
especially on
god.
Discord, it was hostile. Like, it was so common for people to just be attacking you, and you would just deal with it. Like, typically it was something random, you just deal with it because it's usually easy to deal with. So
Yeah.
we
Yeah. So like, hold on. I just want to explain something here. So like, um, yeah. So like, since I basically play like a bunch of like Xbox Live, PlayStation, like, that trash talk and the Halo and Call of Duty lobbies, and then you combine that with like Facebook debating, which was pretty cringe. But hey, I did it when I was younger, and then like eventually Google Plus, and then and then with the Google Plus and like other debating forums and shit like that, like in Comic Vine, holy shit. But like
it's a
I
wild
think
evolution, bro. This
yeah,
shit's deeper than
no,
Pokemon.
I think okay, so like now I'm a lot more chill and I don't take it as seriously, but back then I was a lot more confrontational. I was a lot more aggressive with it. I don't even know why, honestly. I don't even know. I think it was that whole toxic like debating competitive thing. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, like I honestly still don't know why I was even like that, but yeah, like
Oh, I
like
went through that
a
phase
lot of
100%.
a
Yeah.
lot of people were like a lot of people were like around that wavelength, like I don't know. Like I felt that's how it was in those communities. Like it was just like
100%. That's how I broke in
yeah.
the game.
I wouldn't say it was acceptable to be like a dick, but it was like but it was expected, I guess, at a certain level. I don't know, but
Yeah, it's like
or yeah, but that was my interpretation. But I don't know, I moved away from that, but well, to an extent, I'd say, but yeah. But yeah, that's probably why. I honestly don't even remember if I was like, "Hey, bitch, like pull up" or something. But yeah, like I was probably like pretty confrontational on that. Yeah.
nah, and it wasn't. But like, you didn't say anything wild. You didn't like personally
Like, bitch,
attack
fuck
me.
you, fuck your channel, motherfucker.
Yeah, you kept it strictly to content, which is like that's why I didn't escalate at all. Because if it's just content, I don't care. But
Yeah.
you so you were like testing. I do this all the time. That like I've done it to the extent before I tell the story. For the channel, like I've done Itachi versus the one above all, and I've like won that argument before. I've done quite like crazy shit, like where if I'm testing someone, I might throw some wild shit out there. So Chuck threw a scan at me, which is valid. It's a real scan, unfortunately, where the Celestials were impressed by like a star level feat. Like that shit blew their mind. Um, so he kind of like argued that route, and I kind of told him like, hey, look, I have a few things I'll show you where I think you know what, at the time I don't think I had it on me, like on my phone or whatever. So I was like, I'll
Uh-huh.
get it to you and we'll resume the conversation. That's how we kind of ended it. And I got it to him a few days later. I think one example of it was like when Cubic referenced Celestials as being extra dimensional. And he read it and he was like, yo, you weren't dumb. So we were cool after that. Like we talked about it. And I think that, and this kind of really leads into the second part of the podcast. So like back then, none of my videos, I didn't address dimensional tiering. I just never got into it. Like when you were, I was the guy that read comics and would argue with his homies about it, but I was really good at doing that. Nothing technical about that shit. Like I just, in turn, when I say technical, I mean power scaling. Like I just knew feats and shit. Um, and then suddenly I'm looking back at it like now in a video. I can't imagine doing a video where dimensional tiering's not on my mind, like considering shit from that angle. So it's crazy how we went from Marvel literally 3 years ago. Herald tiers, peak, like great day for them at the gym. We're like solar system plus the galaxy.
Even lower, bro. Like, yeah, I know. Like, okay, just a quick insert on this, but like I remember on like these Google Plus, Facebook, and Comic Vine forums and stuff. Like, people not only downplay the fuck out of Dragon Ball, but like they would downplay the fuck out of comics too. Like, they'll be like, "Oh, dude, heralds are like not even planetary," and it's like, what? Like, there's like so much shit, right? And then like, um, even like when like around 2015 2016 era, like what was when I like read a lot more like classic comics, like Journey to Mystery, I think it was, stuff like that. And like it's like, oh, yo, like these Sky Fathers, Odin's, like, or Tyrants and stuff like that. Like these guys have like really crazy stuff, right? And even like when when I was pushing for the whole like multiversal like Odin and stuff like that, right? Like people were like calling me a wanker, and I'm like, bro, it's like so much stuff. Like, and even now, people still like don't think they're even galaxy level and stuff like that, right? But it's like, um, after like, you know, myself and you and other people like whatever, might have pointed it out. It's like, oh, these guys skill much higher. Um, and yeah, like the meta definitely changes a lot now with the whole like that whole like debate we were having with the whole celestial thing. So during this time, even though like I was still like a noob to an extent, like, okay, look, like by that point I had read like thousands of comics, so like I know I knew a decent amount back then, but like in terms of like dimensional tearing and stuff like that. For like, I really didn't know shit. Like, I didn't even know about like all these speed scalings either, like immeasurable. It's like, oh, you are so fast that time doesn't matter, or it's like you're so fast that all these concepts are irrelevant. I didn't know about that. But like during this time, like obviously I knew Celestials were like multiversal at least. Well, obviously now they're much higher, stuff like that. But like um but like with Splash, like I think that what I was trying to bring up is that like there's like these I guess like low ends, right, where they're like shocked over like really weak shit. Like I think like when they encountered the Skyfathers, like I think the Skyfathers were freaking out over like the Celestial being able to like burn down a world or something. Like but yeah, like they were like, what the fuck? Even though it doesn't make sense going by the scaling. But yeah, the like with series, they evolve over time. Like even like long after they've been released, people will look at it through a different lens. For me, like after I read like through DC, or I read more Bleach and stuff like that. Like I would try to apply some principles, see if I could find patterns. Like not necessarily within like the lore and the story, but more so like the scaling, right? But there's like if there's like certain themes, it's like, oh, this guy's ability can overcome this guy's ability because he's stronger or whatever, right? Or this guy's act just doesn't matter because this fool just negates it or something, So like, yeah, I'm I'm going on a tangent here, but yeah, like the scaling has changed a lot, and for me at the time, I didn't even know what outer reversal was. Even now, like I still find the whole Marvel and DC cosmology very complicated, and even the people that know a lot about it, like a lot more than me, like you, for example, like even that shit is still confusing to you guys, and you guys have like cataloged so much shit,
Yeah, nah, that shit's a nightmare, consistency wise. So, to piggyback off what you were talking about and giving more context to the argument back then, Chuck's argument back then, and the reason it wasn't a hot take at all, was he was saying Dragon Ball doesn't have as many downplays as Marvel. It is what it is. That was like as simple as that. Brought up the star shit. But it's funny. So after that, we did have an official debate. It was Lobo, Surfer. It was funny because, like, looking back at it,
You had that, I think, right? Yeah.
Chuck kind of like knew I wasn't like I was declared the winner, but like Chuck
Oh,
knew
you were, yeah.
there was a way to beat me, and like I was wrong in a way, but like he just didn't know how to like prove that at the time. There wasn't back then.
I'm just acid debating, bro.
Nah, but this is real. Like back then, the like stance on Marvel scaling was so much more strict than DC. People thought DC was like already high outer and stupid impressive, but they thought that Marvel was maybe a few characters at outer versal. Like Thor was never discussed a few years ago as like outer versal consistently, in my opinion. At least in the power scaling community on
I mean, even now, just saying that Thor and Silver Surfer and characters like that are, hey, these guys can like actually go up against like Galaxy Busters and like multiversal threats, right? Now, it doesn't mean that they are inherently that level, like on average, but like we're like we've argued like they have shown this level of capability numerous times. Is it their baseline? No, but it's within their higher thresholds, so it wouldn't really be an outlier, if that makes sense. It would be like an uncommon feat, but not like a rare feat, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Because like
it would be
because there's like there's so many fights where Thor's fighting like gods and shit.
I've seen Thor do stuff where it's like I for characters like Thor, I'll have their normal stuff where it's like a normal day for them. I'll have them getting serious. I'll have them high end where they get out of pocket, like you drove him to that point, best feats, and then I have his outliers.
Yeah.
So, but I feel like personally the threshold for those tiers have changed over the years. And I don't have an issue with that. And I guess it's something I want to explain to the audience because I don't think they think about this a lot of times from a
It's also
content
very
creator.
subjective too. That's
Oh yeah,
obviously
100%. We
it's
made
always gonna be
a lot of
biased.
people made this shit up. So it's just what do we agree on? But
Yeah.
for
So yeah, I did just really quick. Like, so for me, although yes, there are like exceptions. Like for example, if you bring up like a manga series, right? They only have like one author, right? Maybe
true.
two or
Yep.
whatever,
Yep.
right? And like you analyze that, like you have to go like yeah, I guess all the consistency, but you also have to take the series for what it is. Like, and what I mean by that is like unlike with comics, like you can't be like, oh, this character is not really this powerful because in these 30 other issues by all these authors, like he's not that strong, right? But with like manga and like more singular like writing entity, like those, like just like those simple shows, right, or whatever, or like a standalone, whatever, like those series that just have like one or two writers, like those I feel are more like the scaling could be more. I feel like the scaling has to be taken more serious, I guess, if that makes sense. Like for example, like let's say you have a series that says, oh, like this realm is beyond time. It's only stated one time in the whole series, right? And then like, would you be like, oh, well, that we don't really have any more exposition from?
That's that's one
Yeah.
of those painful. That's perfect, the segue, because I was
Uh huh.
talking about as
It's
a
like, where do you
content
go from that, right?
creator, that is one of the most painful aspects. Like dealing with situations where we have to decide, okay, do we let these one or two things dictate how I scale this entire video? Because what I was saying is the audience, they can change their metas. Like they can change the way they scale, and typically it's fine because it's like, who's checking on them like that? Who's your close friends might be like, hey, didn't you say last week this character was stronger? You could just be like, hey, I read more, bitch. It is what it is. But for content creators, it's like it's potentially a massive step. You could literally go from Thor being, imagine like I put a video, Thor is Galaxy Buster, right? I don't touch Thor. For whatever reason, I don't make Thor content for like 6 months. But my scaling's changed. My metas have changed. And then I come back, and the next time I talk about Thor, I'm like, yeah, he almost killed Galactus, which, as an abstract, makes him at least a multiversal, but more likely an outerversal threat. And people are like, wait, what the like, you just said he was a galaxy, but you know? So, as a content creator, there's a lot more consequences to us scaling a certain way.
Yeah, I feel like, okay, so for me, like when it comes to like these videos and like just when I feel like this mostly developed when I was in school and shit, but like the coursework, like I had like this perfectionist like attitude, like I had to analyze things from as many angles as I could, right? And like I think in the past, like I was a lot more, how do I put it? Like I wasn't as analytical, probably, because like for example, like when I was doing that a Goku versus Flash video, I think with Seth, like I knew a pretty good amount about Flash, but like from all that I have learned, like from the character as well, like I'm like, yo, like I downplayed the fuck out of this fool, right? Or I didn't explain some things correctly, right? Or I didn't look at more examples, right? So um one of the things for me is that like I try to like not only read the series and take notes, but I'll like get the guidebooks or whatever, right? And then see what they say, right? And like with like Dragon Ball or Bleach and stuff like that, I feel it's a lot more simple. It's a lot more easy with that one. But when it comes to comics, like that's one reason I haven't made like comics like content in a while, is because like It's just like way too much fucking material, right? That like even if I, like I have done videos where like I analyze like a good portion of their background and their feats and stuff. But just from all that knowledge, like I'm not confident that it's like a definitive scale of of the character. I feel that to do that, I would literally have to read everything. And that's when it kind of gets like that's like a lot more responsibility, especially when now like I don't think people should use like other YouTubers to be like for like their arguments or like, oh well this guy said this, right? Um, but like in a way, like I feel like I have like this responsibility to like not misrepresent these characters, right? Or at least like provide arguments for why they could be seen in a different way, right? Not only like through feats and power and shit, but also just through like their own story as well. But yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like I guess you'd call it compared to being like gatekeepers. Like we're trying to be at least a little bit responsible to the material we cover, because we do for the most part care about a majority of the content we cover. Like I'd say most of my videos, like on different verses, I genuinely enjoy the verses. Obviously, upcoming for me, like you love the shit out of that verse. Bleach, that's coming up. I'm actually enjoying it. So things like that, we enjoy it. So I don't want to misrepresent it. Maybe I'll make a troll video every once in a while, but like in terms of consistency, I don't want to misrepresent how that series actually is and how it should be portrayed.
Yeah. Let's see what else I gotta talk about. Yeah. So yeah, so like one example, like for Bleach, like I mean, I'm even though I've reread it so many times and I've like analyzed stuff like several times, like I'm still debating with myself like how to really scale that verse because like for those that like have seen the series, right? Like there's like arguments for universal stuff, right? Like we have Yuha, right? He was like manipulating like all these different universes or realms. And then you have Ichigo who can fucking hurt him, right? And then you have Kenpachi and Byakuya who are, yes, they're weaker, but they're not like dramatically much weaker than him, right? Like say for example, Ichigo's like an elephant. I think Kenpachi would be like a rhino in comparison. I don't think he would be like a fucking flea. Like he would be around, as like a relative threshold, right? Um, so like it gets weird. It gets really weird with that verse because like during like the whole Espada arc, right? You have these feats that are potentially like country level, right? Depending on how you scale Las Noches and stuff like that and the multipliers. But yeah, like it's just confusing, right? It's like you have this character who has enough power that he can manipulate all these universes. This character is strong enough and fast enough to keep up with him and hurt him. And then you have other characters that they are, they could still be a challenge to like the lower forms of Ichigo, right? So like, would Kenpachi and Byakuya be like galaxy level or something, right? In a way, or would it not apply? Like I feel like that with those verses where it's a lot more, it's not as clear cut. It's a lot more complicated.
Yeah, it's a little
And
more up in
with
the
that one,
air.
it's a lot more responsibility.
Yeah, and I think what sucks about that verse, and I'm hoping I don't run into this when I cover it, but I hate when you get in a verse like that and the fan base doesn't want to discuss shit. Like they have this preconceived notion, and it is what it is. Like no, like the author clearly wrote it in a way where, like for example, I watch pretty much all Chuck's content because that's my dog, right? Like so, I basically watch his shit. I didn't know anything about Bleach except my rotten experiences in the debate community and just like stuff I knew in general. Now I have some context given where I am right now. I did have to pause reading it, but I'm getting back to it. But I passed the Soul Society arc. I'm around where the visors are teaching Ichigo's homegirl. But anyways, I have more context, so I start going back. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna watch Chuck's video and truly enjoy them because I'm gonna know what's actually going on. So I like Grimjow being the strongest Espada. I'm not through with the series, but that's an interesting conversation to be had. I feel like those conversations are dope, but some fan bases aren't open to that, and it sucks.
Yeah. Okay. With the Godzilla community, like they've been really supportive, like with my videos and stuff. But like there's like some people that like I've seen in the comments. I mean, there's always gonna be negative comments. Doesn't matter what you upload, right? You could literally upload like yourself giving fucking money to homeless people. People would still be like, "Fuck you, dude," or something, you know. But like,
How homeless was he?
extremely, oh my god.
Can
But
you prove
yeah,
he
so
was
like,
homeless for a week?
yes.
Yeah, that's the type of shit we deal with, man. It's crazy. That's why I
But
don't
anyways,
debate
yeah,
anymore.
but yeah, like with the Godzilla people, like, I mean, like you can, okay, like I'll bring up like Shin Godzilla, right? Like if you know anything about him, he's basically like a Doomsday or like Hulk. Well, I wouldn't say Hulk. He's like a Doomsday or SCP-682 kind of like Godzilla that it like adapts and basically evolves over time, right? Um, not to the same degree, obviously, but like that concept in mind, it evolves and adapts. But like people are like, oh my god, dude, it's like this one should be the strongest one because it can evolve and stuff. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, potential wise, but then like I have to bring up like arguments, for like what we see in the series, and some people like I feel like a good portion of people they like they are looking at it like really analytical, right? Like they're watching it for entertainment. Like when I was younger and I was watching the Godzilla movies, it didn't really cross my mind which one was stronger. I was just like, yo, he blew up a city. That's fucking cool. Like, oh, he destroyed this building. Like, okay, awesome. But then it's like when you look at all these Godzillas on like a surface level, they don't really seem that much more powerful than the other, right? Except in some instances. But like for the most part, most of them do pretty much the same shit. They just destroy a city, right? Or they fight another monster, they cause rubble everywhere. But once you analyze, what the series says, what these movies say, what the books say, whatever, like that's when you have to be like, okay, this one would logically be above this one, or stuff like that. And yeah, logically according to my perspective, but so obviously, mm, you know, some other person that may find it logical will not find my conclusion logical. Um, and yeah, maybe I have some bias. Hey, say Godzilla, he's my homeboy, but um, like I just want to try to analyze things like closer than most people would. And yeah, but yeah, like with the Godzilla thing, people how do I put it? Some people will like see like a series where like these guys blow up like fucking cities everywhere, right? And like that's all they show. And then you have another series where like they can potentially destroy the planet, but they don't do any of that, right? But theoretically they could, right? So it's like, oh, dude, the guys that blow up all these cities are stronger, right? And it's like, well, these other guys could too, but they just haven't shown it. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, I
Like
remember one time.
presentation overrules it. Yeah.
One time, I dealt with a dude who was considered like a big voice of a portion of the community in Star Wars, and he said something akin to, "Oh, I don't use scaling, I just go by feats."
What?
And I was like, but not, but he like, when he said that, his homies there, and like people that represent his like core, and nothing wrong with the guy. The dude was cool, by the way. Like I hate when people associate scaling with like how good of people are. That's so weird. But he they believe that. They're like, yeah, that shit's fire. Like he's facts. Like, damn the scaling. What are the feats? But I'm like, that's where it reminds me of when Chuck had this old video speaking on one of the old comic channels where they said power scaling is useless, but without acknowledging it, they use scaling. Like they do. If you say a character beats another character, you're implying scaling, because if I am to ask you, well, why, you have to explain why they scale above the other. Like so, it can
Yeah,
get a bit wild.
yeah, like with comics, yeah, like I would say like most people read it for the story. I mean, for Marvel, like I haven't read any of the recent stuff. Like honestly, like I don't know, I just haven't been interested into it, except with like the cosmic stuff, like Thanos. But like when I was reading like those, Secret Wars or like House of M, stuff like that. Like the story was good, the art style was good, but we also got dope ass scaling, right? And like when you're dealing with characters fighting each other and having abilities to counter each other, like you're gonna have scaling evolved in one way or another. And that is another like debate that was going around with like the whole Dragon Ball like anti-power scaling thing. They're like, "Oh, dude, power scaling's dumb. Power levels are dumb," and it's like, no, it's actually a pretty fundamental part of the story, and it's literally a huge part of it. Like what? And although it might not be as big in Marvel or DC, like it is definitely still a component. When you get to things like, say, Star Wars and I don't know, Star Trek or how Kamen Rider, it, with that, it definitely does get more complicated because like you have these novels, you have these video games, you have these other presentations that are not like the typical like comic books, and like and especially like even like okay, like for me, like I fucking love Star Wars. Like I've watched Clone Wars so many times. Like I've watched all the classic films. Darth Vader is one of my homies. I've read a lot of his comics too. The novels, like I've read a decent amount, but not really that much. But like I know that there's like a lot of scaling from like like really nasty shit like with the Sith and the Jedi and it's like if you scaling you can get Vader to be like mad nasty, bro. Like like I mean you have Nihilus who can fuck up planets and he's like I mean yeah he's really strong, but like compared to Vader and Palpatine, like no, because like I'm pretty sure like each generation of Sith is supposed to be stronger than the last one, right? Like isn't that one of the basic
Oh
ideals?
my god.
Right?
Okay, look, I
Or
have
or
trauma from
or
that.
or am I wanking Vader? Am I wanking Vader
No,
by
no,
saying
no, no, no. You're
right?
100% right that
Uh,
it's noted in lore
uh,
that the following Sith is supposed to be stronger. Like it's supposed to carry on the Sith tradition, get stronger over time. What that's like saying every okay, so like our my ancestors like 300 years ago were probably like 5'4", right? I'm way bigger
yeah.
than that. I'm closer to 6'4". That's like saying everybody in between in my family got taller. Everybody was taller. It's
Yeah.
not the case. It's just not true. So there would be arguments that like Darth Bane would lose to the master of Darth Plagueis's like slave, because that guy technically counts in the chain. Like that dude didn't do anything like that.
Yeah.
So that it gets contentious there, but
Mhm.
absolutely you are correct. Vader, lineage wise, should be above everybody except Sidious, and because he never technically surpassed Sidious, in my opinion.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, so yeah, lineage lore wise, narratively should be, but man, that narrative used to get into the most annoying debates.
Like I just want to add on like that's not to say that like automatically just because you're part of the next generation you're gonna be stronger than the last one. But like what I'm trying to say is that like just that general concept that like I mean these Sith are like hundreds of years like more advanced. They have more knowledge, right? City is like literally like fucking analyzed so much shit, right? And then he gave some of that knowledge to Vader, but he mostly like he mostly honestly like Palpatine just ripped him the fuck off. But like pretty much like Vader didn't really receive that much like knowledge from him, right? But like I would say like he received like a fundamental like Sith like you know I guess like basic Sith teachings, right? Like, and obviously like there's like a whole narrative that he's like the chosen one, right? And like and obviously when you combine narrative and feats and these novels and stuff, it does become more complicated. But yeah, like with the novels, like I've read a good amount of them, but there's still so much shit I have to go through, dude. And even then, like it's just really complicated. There's guidebooks on top of that. There's like magazines. There's the video games. Like it's just so much fucking shit to sift through that like to make like a definitive video on some of these characters is like months to years of a project. At least for me, I don't know. But yeah, like end of the day, it's pretty fun, but it's like a chore as well.
Yeah, and it gets. I think what's wild is, man, these and people don't understand. I'm not complaining about this because it's definitely part of the game, and a lot of times I just troll these comments. But sometimes you'll work extra especially hard on a project, right? Like I'd say me and Chuck worked especially hard on Omni Man vs Goku, and you'll get dumbass comments, bro. And Chuck hit me up. He was like, "Yo, do you think like we should have looked at this?" I'm like, "No, like that's crazy." Like it's just we have to look at things with a completely different perspective than our audience does, and I hope it's a little more interesting for them to hear like us speak on that as content creators. Because like obviously, if you disagree, some of the best comment exchanges I've ever had is when people disagree. Because then either if it's genuine, they'll send me something, I'll read it, and I learn more. If I'm genuine and I'm right, I send them something, they read it, they learn more. That's what it's supposed to be about. So those I encourage those 100%. But when you get wild ass comments, man, sometimes you'll be like, you know what? I don't feel like giving y'all a video today. I'll do it. I still make the comment or the content, but 100%. Sometimes a really dumb comment, if it's like borderline completely insane and borderline might have some merit to it, those are the worst ones because those make you somewhat hesitate.
Um, yeah. So like, I always appreciate like the people that like watched it, and they're like, oh, like like I like how you did this, like how you put this song. People are always asking me about like the song and stuff, and yeah, like it's that's really great, especially like when some people tell me that like they learn more stuff, Um, now there's like those comments that like obviously didn't watch the whole video or they didn't even like they didn't really even pay attention. Okay, like they're like these people that were saying, "Oh, like why did you spoil?" And I'm like, "Bro, I literally said in the first 2 fucking minutes, and I I talked about it for 30 seconds, I think 20 to 30 seconds, and I literally put in text spoilers, and I literally said, you have not read all of Invincible, like there's gonna be spoilers, bro, like you know, um, or like I'll be like, oh, like uh yeah, so like for example, like when I did a video on Hulk and I was talking about like the one from World War Hulk, I said that like Doctor Strange said that at that point in time he was the strongest that he was, and like some comments were like, bro, but he became stronger, and I'm like, I fucking know that, bro, but I said at that point, like like it's just like some people just have selective hearing, or maybe I'm just moronic at explaining myself, so maybe it's my fault. I don't know,
Oh
but
man,
yeah.
when I misspeak, because a lot of times I go off script. Like sometimes it drives Chuck nuts that I don't like scripts, but it's like I'm a talker, so I'm gonna let it fly. But when I don't scripts, every once in a while, God forbid, I say a name wrong or I say a name at the wrong time. Oh my God, the Hawks that'll snipe me for that.
I'm in.
Like, I'm trying to think of a good example of the last time I did that. World War Hulk. If you say World War Hulk, but you mean World Breaker,
Yeah.
shit will hit the fan in the comment section with at least
Not the
one
same
person.
one, bitch.
Yeah.
Not the same one.
Not the
Oh,
same
yo, yo,
one.
yo. No, hold on. You know, it's really funny too. Like when we did the Broly and Hulk debunk, they're like, "Oh, it wasn't fair. They were using different forms of Hulk," and it's like, it's the same one, bro.
He's just more mad.
Yes, yes, like Hulk does have different forms, right, based on his personality and his power, but it's still 616 Hulk. It's the same one. It's like fucking labeling Ultra Instinct and Super Saiyan Blue and Super Saiyan Goku as different forms, like as literally different incarnations of Goku. You know, it's like, you know what I mean? It's it's like implying that Super Saiyan Blue and Super Saiyan Goku are literally from two different universes, right? Like they're not the same one, you know?
Yeah, man, like I've dealt with some wild, like sometimes if I get a wild enough comment, I might investigate just to see, because I'm like, man, if this is real, this would be comedy. So sometimes I investigate stupid shit. Shame on me, but nah, that's that's our little tangent on comments. I think, by the way, I encourage everyone to comment, even if you
Yeah, I
disagree
love
with
them. I
stuff.
love.
It's just like, what'd you say?
Yeah. Like the comments are good, you know, like with the criticism ones, you know, if it's like something that that we may have overlooked or stuff like that, like those are fine, you know.
That's what I was gonna ask you, because a lot of
Yeah.
people, this is like,
Half the time they're okay, but half the time, like, I don't know, there's some questionable stuff. But yeah.
here's the funny thing, right? A lot of times, and this is valid, a lot of times you see content creators say, "Oh, we love criticism," but then they don't tell you like how to go about it, right? What's the best way if someone wants to like talk to you about correcting something you said in a comment? What's the best way to get your attention? What would make you pause to be like, oh, this comment looks like it's worth reading?
Wait, can you repeat that again? You cut out.
Yeah. So if, let's say you're scrolling through your comment section, if I'm a random that wants to talk to you about maybe something I view as a mistake in your video, what's the best way to get your attention? Me, it's pretty simple.
I don't know.
It's
Probably put timestamps or something. I'm like, bring up like.
Yeah, I think for me, it's that first sentence. Like they teach you when you're young in school, lead with a banger of an opener. If you hit me with something as simple as, yo, watch the video, I like the content and all that, but let me tell you where, like in this instance, I don't agree with you. And then if you start breaking it, first of all, if you send me a 10-page essay, I'm not reading that shit. I'm a grown man. I'm just not reading it. But if you like send maybe like he said, a timestamp, or just specifically what you just agree with and why, I'm more than willing to read that and probably respond. I can't think of a specific instance where I've actually made a video correct. I've actually made videos though addressing concerns or questions about scaling that I felt like, even though I disagreed with their stance, I felt like their position had enough merit to it where I can address it. So for me, it's the opener. So like what would you think it'd be for you?
Yeah, pretty much what you said, honestly.
This man Chuck said you dropped nothing but facts. And I appreciate that, Chuck. Thank you.